Hey guys, it's Keenan with the Real Estate Exchange.
And Amanda over at Real Property Management.
All right, so I'm Keenan Fitzpatrick. I work for the Real Estate Exchange at Keller Williams, and I show people how to make money in real estate. I focus exclusively on investment properties, so from fix and flips to businesses to big apartment buildings to owner-occupied fourplexes. That's my wheelhouse. That's how I show people how to make money. Amanda over at Real Property Management. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, we work with accidental landlords. What we mean by that is, people who didn't necessarily intend to rent out their properties initially when they purchased, as well as investment owners.
Excellent. Real Property Management is also one of the biggest property managers in town and has done that in a very short amount of time. And Amanda, being humble, did not mention that they've won like a slew of awards and accolades as well. So if you need any property management, go talk to them. They're the people that you need to be talking to. And today, Amanda and I are going to talk to you about the phantom costs on multifamily properties that most people don't account for. So when I first started selling investment properties, I would just go to the things that made the most money, hands down. And it ended up, the reason why people are slumlords is because slumlords make a whole bunch of money on their property. Right? They do the least amount of maintenance in order to keep it up, because if they could do something for, say instead of putting a new heating system in for $12,000, they can have a guy come out there for $1,100 and get their heating system working again. Then they're going to make a lot more money because you don't get any additional rent on a property just because you're providing heat. Like, that's a given. You're supposed to have heat in a building. So they end up doing the least amount possible just to keep things moving along, and they make as much money as they can. So I would end up taking people to go see the properties that have the biggest cash flow ever, and they would end up being more slummy properties. And as I found out, that's not necessarily the best way. So why is it that these slummy properties have all these phantom costs, and what do those look like, Amanda?
So with properties that you see a lot more phantom costs associated with it are typically situations like that where there's substantial amount of deferred maintenance. There's no tenant screenings majority of the time. The leases are very weak. They're not going through and being proactive and doing inspections, making sure that everything's being taken care of on the property.
Yeah, maybe the guy across the hallway from you in a neighboring unit, he's got a Volkswagen collection on the next to the house. There's a bunch of broke down Volkswagens out there. Those are the kind of people that you're going to find in situations like this. So the phantom costs that you tend to find that are usually higher in buildings like this are going to be three different things. It's going to be the turnover is going to go up more, and the vacancies are going to go up more. Those are going to be the number one and number two things. It's higher vacancies and higher turnover. And that's something that's hard to account for because you never really know exactly what it is. That's, a cost that's a factor that's based off of, human behavior. It's not something like we could say, hey, I know that this roof has only got maybe 5 years left. So I need to start setting aside $200 a month so that in 5 years, I'm going to have $10,000 or whatever the number works out to be so that I can replace that roof at no cost. You don't know. You may get someone in there that decides that is perfectly happy with it, lives there for 10 years. You may get someone that wants to break their lease after just a couple months. The third thing that a lot of people don't realize is that one of the biggest phantom costs is as you're going through all these turnovers and having these additional vacancies, it eats up your time more than anything. You're pre-qualifying tenants. You're having to have units, have repairs made, have upgrades made to them, have professional cleaning done, having to dispose of the things that they leave behind. And it's going to take up a lot of your time. Time is one of the most valuable assets that we have. And actually, Eric, one of the owners of Real Property Management, actually turned me on to this a long time ago. And I'm really happy Amanda brought it up. And he said, looking back, a lot of the properties that have less cash flow on an initial cash flow sheet at the time of purchase compared to something that has really high cash flow but higher maintenance. He said at the end of 3 or 5 years, when these people turn around and want to get rid of these properties, he said that they end up making really close to the same amount of money. Sometimes one makes more than the other, sometimes the other way around. But if they're in the same ballpark of making the same money, and I can do it with a lot less effort, energy, and time, and heartache and stress, I'm going to take the easy street every single time, like every time. So with that being said, The areas that tend to have less turnover and less vacancy, and then therefore less time involved in managing them, is a really interesting statistic that I got from the Landlord's Almanac, which Real Property Management puts on. And so if you're not going to those classes, you need to be going to those classes. And it was the release rates, and it was a real interesting statistic. So Amanda, what are the areas that have the highest release rates?
So more specific to the property type more than the areas.
Interesting.
So yeah, B properties where we see that $1,200 to $1,600 price range, sometimes a little bit more depending on the type of property. They can be up to 78% renewal rates year by year.
Mm-hmm. So when she says B-type properties, you're talking about like your townhouse style condos, townhouse style zero lot line buildings.
Duplexes, even some triplexes.
Yep, duplexes, exactly. So imagine, what's most likely probably sometimes a 2, but probably a 3-bedroom unit, right?
Yep.
Sometimes 1 bathroom, but a lot of times 2 bathrooms, right? And then maybe you have some secure or covered parking.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Sometimes you can actually get some bigger buildings like fourplexes in those, but those tend to only be, and this is a new revelation to me. I thought that those buildings would never qualify for that until we were in a fully remodeled building, man. It said actually, yeah, I would call that a B building. So again, it brings me back to the things that I've said over and over and over again, which is having value add properties, picking up distressed properties and remodeling them so that you have less turnover, less vacancies, less time involved, less maintenance. So anyway, guys, that's a little bit on the phantom costs. We will talk to you soon. Take care.